I love fall. Kids go back to school. Football season's here. Hunting season is here. Pumpkin and apple flavored everything. The weather is getting cooler. Soon the leaves will be changing colors and we'll be getting ready for our favorite holidays: Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's all coming up right around the corner. With that comes the feeling of getting back into the swing of things. Personally, with doing 2 videos per week, every Monday, every Friday for the last year, at the beginning of summer, I was starting to feel a bit burnt out with it. So I decided to take the summer off. 2 videos a week may not seem like a lot, but when you're sitting there coming up with content every Monday, every Friday, it does get a bit monotonous over time. With that said, I feel like right now is a good time to get back into the swing of things with our weekly communications. So the format will be 1 video per week. I'll start out with a mindset piece for the week. Then I'll move on to the top tip of the week. From there, I'll talk about what I see is happening in the real estate market. And lastly, I'll finish with what current rates are doing. So, with that said, today's mindset piece will be about getting back into the swing of things. So, according to LinkedIn, there are 6 tips on how to get back into the swing of things. The first is get organized. Before you get started, make a plan. Make a list. Prioritize the list and check things off as you go. Number 2, take it slow. Start off with the easier tasks and move your way on to the more difficult ones after. Number 3, catch up on emails. Review emails you may have missed while you were away. This is also a good time for when people are trying to get back into the swing of things to review past clients that you have worked with that were thinking about buying or selling, but the time wasn't right. Maybe now's a good time to reach out and see if they are in the market. Number 4, take a break. So while you're working, if you're starting to feel a little bit mentally fatigued, go for a walk, read your favorite book, look at fantasy football if that's what you're into, but do something to kind of refresh your mind. It'll help you get through the day and be more productive throughout the day. Number 5, focus on one task at a time. Right now, we live in a very ADHD world where we have text messages, Facebook messages, emails, phone calls, all kinds of different distractions, as well as TV, tablets, video games, you name it. There's plenty of distractions. But the best way to work through your day and get your task complete is to focus on one thing at a time. Right now, as I'm mapping out this video, my phone has buzzed 4 times. Don't know if it's email, don't know if it's text, don't know if it's phone calls, but I've decided to put my phone down until this is complete. So the best way to complete your task is to focus on that one task until it's done and then move on to the next one. Number 6, ask for help. If you're feeling overwhelmed or don't know where to start, reach out to me, reach out to a colleague, reach out to a friend for some guidance on some advice on where to get started. Top tip for this week. I call this the story of 2 houses that sold for the same price. So let's say you've got 2 houses, both sold for $500,000. Both probably worth $500,000. Let's say one house goes on the market at $499 or $500 and sells within a week for $500,000. You have another house priced at $530 and it's on the market for 65 days, finally goes under contract at $500. Both houses will say ultimately sell for $500,000. So on paper, it looks like both sellers got the same amount of money. What you don't see is the behind the scenes things, and what you don't see is leverage. The seller that goes under contract for $500 in a week, they've got all the leverage. Whereas the seller that goes under contract in 65 days, the buyer has all the leverage. Why is leverage important? Because when you go under contract, the house is not sold. The next step is for the buyer to complete inspections and then an appraisal. If you go under contract after 1 week and say there's $10,000 worth of repairs after inspections, if you're the seller and you've got the leverage, you can say, well, we were only on the market for a week. We didn't really test it too much. We're not necessarily going to be so willing to work on things. We're willing to retest the market. Whereas if you've been on the market 65 days, you've kind of already tested the market and the buyer knows that. So the buyer is going to be more apt to ask for those $10,000 in repairs. So at the end of the day, the house that sits on the market for 65 days, they may agree to a new roof or $10,000 towards closing costs or any other repair, whereas the seller that went under contract after 1 week might not need to do any of those things. So there could be a $10,000 swing just based on initial pricing. So it's important when pricing a home for sale to price it right. It very rarely works out in the seller's favor to price it high in today's market and let a buyer talk them down. The best strategy in this market is to price it right and get a buyer quickly. So right now, what I'm seeing in the market is sellers and buyers both, appropriately for this video, are starting to get back in the swing of things as well. So I've noticed that buyers who have put their search on hold are starting to come back, and sellers who have been thinking about selling are starting to make initial appointments to get the listing appointments started. So right now, if you have people that you were talking to last spring, last year that were thinking about buying, but the timing just wasn't right, now would be a good time to reach out to them and see if they're getting back into the market. Now would also be a good time to reach out to your database and see if anyone in your database is in the market. Now, according to Mortgage News Daily, a 30-year fixed conventional loan is at 6.37%. An FHA loan is at 5.75 and VA is at 5.74. That's all for this week. Have a great week. See you guys around.